Hello everyone, this is Coach Oliver once again. And for today we will feature Magnus Carlsen's sweet revenge over Praggnanandhaa in the Meltwater Champions Tour Charity Cup, the second leg of the Champions Tour. Last month, Praggnanandhaa stunned Magnus Carlsen in the Air Things Masters, and this time around, Magnus Carlsen showed his fighting spirit. He doesn't want Praggy to win 2 in a row. So let's check it out. Praggnanandhaa went for d4. He was white. Carlsen went for knight f6. c4. g6. Now threatening d5. Black threat is d5 and going into the Catalan. Going to the Grunfeld. Or maybe d6 and go to the King's Indian. In the previous game between Carlsen and Ding Liren, Ding went for f3, the anti-Grunfeld, because if you play d5, takes, white has e4, there's no knight c3, so a tempo for white. But in this game, Praggnanandhaa went for knight c3. It's inviting Carlsen, come on, play d5, play the Grunfeld, let's have this. So d5 takes. e4 takes. Alright, we have the Grunfeld exchange variation. Bishop into g7. In the Grunfeld, white controls the central squares with e4, d4, e5, and d5. And black allows that one because he has this central break with c5. Pawn on d4 cannot capture c5 because this bishop takes c3, forking the king and the rook on a1. Bishop a3, protecting d4, bishop g4. Removing the defender on f3, pressuring the d4 square. Rook to c1, moving out of the pin from the ha to a1 diagonal. Castles. Bishop e2, queen a5, threatens a2, pin on the king. White ignores the threat on a2, castles. Takes an a2. Okay, let's take a look at this position. If queen goes to d2, okay, knight just goes to d7 with your castle, then capture an f3, takes on f3, c takes d4, right? C takes d4, queen takes d2, d2, this bishop takes d4. Okay, so Praggnanandhaa castles. Carlsen captures the free pawn on a2, d5. It was also possible for white to go rook b1 here, threatening b7. Capturing d4 takes, as this is d5, knight e5, rook takes b7, and it's just roughly equal. But black has this dangerous pass pawn as well. Okay, so d5 was played. Carlsen develops his knight on d7, h3, takes an interesting capture by Praggnanandhaa with the pawn. King is quite vulnerable on the g-file, open g-file, double pawn. Okay, but the main plan is to go f4 and then e5, advancing the central pawns. Queen a5, bishop and queen hitting c3 twice. Queen d2, queen protects c3. c4, nice move by Magnus. If Praggnanandhaa captures on c4, for example, then we just go rook fc8. Yep. There are 3 pieces hitting c3, the bishop, the rook, and the queen. Okay, so queen b2 was played by Praggnanandhaa. It was also possible to play f4, but Praggnanandhaa might have been afraid of knight c5, queen c2, knight b3, and then b5 with a queenside majority for black. Although white could also go for e5 here. Position is quite unclear. Yep. Black has this outside pass pawn, while white has this central pass pawn. Okay, it's been a beautiful race for pawns. Queen b2 was played. So b5, white has rook a1, sacrifices c3 for the b pawn. Queen attacks c4 and d7. Carlsen has this interesting knight b6 move. Here Praggnanandhaa went for rook c1. If the bishop captures on b6, Carlsen play a takes b6. Takes. We take c4. Now we have this active queen, a bad pawn structure, dark square weakness, queen g5, and then bishop e5 threatening mate. And if you go king f1, it's the same thing, just bishop e5. This pawn on f3 has to be pushed as soon as possible, but in this case, the pawn stayed on f3 for quite some time, which makes the position bad for white. Guess queen f6, king g2. Again, the bishop cannot capture c4 because knight will just take it, and then this queen takes f3. So king g2 was played, protecting f3, c3. Keep the pass pawn, 2 squares to go to promote. f4, e5. Nice move by Magnus, breaking the connection of the f, d, and e pawn, the fed. Takes an e6, takes an e6. Alright, without a pawn on d5, the knight steps on the square. Bishop g4, knight takes e3, takes an e3. We have an opposite colored bishop, but the white's king is in danger. The second rank is open. The g file is also semi-open. Rook f2, queen a3, protecting c3, attacking c1. Rook fc2, rook ab8, intermediate move, attacking the queen. Right, and that also defends c3 because of that being on the second rank. King g3, another nice intermediate move by Magnus here with h5. Praggnanandhaa went for bishop f3. Now let's take a look at bishop takes c3. Rook takes c3. Praggy might have he may not like this move. He didn't like queen a5 here. Bishop e2, for example. This bishop takes, queen takes. If queen f4, then take, and rook takes e2. And if you go back to g2, for example, you cannot go back to f2, because if you go back to f2, then queen goes to h2. So you only will go back to g2, and now the rook goes to e8 with the pressure on e3. Queen g5 is coming, and then the a pawn. Praggnanandhaa maybe he didn't like this position with that capture on c3. So he went for bishop f3, but Carlsen has this tricky h4 move. Praggy went for king h2. Now let's take a look at king takes h4. King takes h4 is not possible because the bishop takes e5 if you capture the move before. A pin on the queen to the king on the 4th rank. Queen is dead. King h2, there's rook d8. Open an open file. Again, c3 pawn cannot be taken because of the pin on the 2nd rank. Bishop d5, just king h7. King safety on h7. King goes back to g1. Magnus, even the world champion, even the best player in the world, missed the important tactical detail here. Anyone can make mistakes though. Right, Magnus means this takes on c2, rook takes c2, queen a1, check. After king, and then we have a double attack on the rook and the bishop, queen d1. If bishop protects the rook, we have rook d2, takes, and c takes d2. Unstoppable promotion of the pawn. Because if you play bishop f3, just takes, and then promote another queen. And if you go bishop c2, just queen e1. If you play queen d3 to protect both e3 and d1, the bishop will just simply go back to f8, threatening bishop c5, bishop e3. Okay, so but after queen a5, Praggnanandhaa has counter blunder with e4. Now Carlsen has queen b6 check. White cannot stop the infiltration of the queen in white's camp with queen e3. Hitting f4, hitting g3. Queen f1 protects f4. but Carlsen has this move, bishop h6. It was also possible. Another miss by Magnus. Simple tactics with takes, rook takes d5, takes on d5, and king e4. Double attack. Again, even the best players making mistakes. It's natural. But bishop a6 is also winning. Yeah, that is another option. h1, bishop takes f4, bishop goes into the game, joining the party. Rook takes b2, pass 1 and b2. A slight mistake by Magnus. Rook takes b2, but it's still the same. Rook c8 wins. e6, rook c1, takes on h3, takes on c1, and here white resigned. Alright, so that was a strong game by Magnus against the young Praggnanandhaa. Magnus showed his fighting spirit here. He didn't want Praggnanandhaa to win 2 in a row against him. Yeah, that's the fighting spirit of a world champion. Magnus showed his strong mental, wow, that is just the mental side of Magnus. Alright, I hope you like our presentation for today. We will continue our coverage of this Meltwater Champions Tour, and also tomorrow is the start of the candidates for our very own Wesley Saul. We'll be playing against the best of the world to get that final spot in the candidates. Alright, this is Coach Oliver once again. If you want to share, like, and subscribe our 2 channels, Chart Smash Chess for our international audience, and also we have this Chart Smash Entertainment for our Filipino version. Alright, please continue to support. Thank you all, and we will continue to give you more fun and exciting presentation in the days to come. This is Coach Oliver once again. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.